shades of yellow.
Hello, welcome to the Lovely Job podcast. I'm Leah Spicer-Pownall, Marketing Manager of Miss Bush, and this is...
I'm Emma Marshall. I'm the MD of Miss Bush, and we are one of the UK's oldest bridal boutiques.
Lovely. And we're recording... Very professional. I love it. From now on, it's going to be the same every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Professional.
We're recording this straight after episode 13, so it's actually a week ago for you guys. Because at this moment, I'm probably going to be in my car driving down to Southsea.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the Christmas party, and I mean, obviously quite self-serving to me to have it in Southsea, but actually this year's been very busy for the team, but we've been more fractured in terms of ever being under the same roof at the same time, and because we've had to run a lot of 7-day working weeks, so that has meant that people have been working Sundays, they've had odd days off during the week, so there hasn't really been a many weeks where we've all been together at the same time. Even this year when we did the Jesus Pero event, it was so busy with production. I think that I don't think Adrian came to that. And then when we did the Suzanne Neville Day, again, Adrian was really busy with production, and Jo was had to step up in a caring role for her parents. So I thought, like, by actually going out of the local area, we could have a whole day together, a bit of team bonding, and booked everyone into a hotel. Although that booking has been the most holiday in group, mate. Your booking system is absolutely shocking. So I'm actually going to have to physically go in person, very analog style, and check that that's actually right. So yeah, I've got that. So yeah, next Monday we'll all be together. But yes, Christmas partying. So
well, I'm very excited about it because I shared a funny meme the other day about what a self-employed person's Christmas party looks like, and it's just a man sat in a pub on his own having a beer. That's what my Christmas parties have been like for the last 15 years or something. So it's nice to be invited to one.
I mean, we don't really do them. We don't have a huge tradition of doing Christmas parties, I have to say. I've done more things like Galentine's Day. We usually do things like on the solstice, where we burn yellow candles and pretend to be witches and try and invoke things. So yeah, we don't, and what can quite often happen after like a designer day or an event is we just sit around and order pizza into the chapel and drink wine. So that's not exactly the same thing to do. So we are actually having a Christmas do. Out of Office will be on Monday the 16th. So, but obviously we all look at our emails on our phones. If there was anything tearingly urgent, we'd see it. But otherwise, we're going to be out.
And you can look out for the stories because I will be there and I will be sharing everything.
Yeah. And I feel I'm going to everyone insisted that I book a hotel with a pool because they want to go for a swim the next morning. I'm like, you better actually pack your trunks and your swimming costumes and actually get in the pool after the trauma of trying to use the booking
Don't worry,
system.
I will definitely be in that sauna sweating out the alcohol.
Yep, so it should be good. So yeah, we're doing two back-to-back podcasts today. So, and this is one that I've been wanting to do for a while actually. So I'm quite pleased that we can just focus on one topic.
Yes.
Though the idea that I can focus on one topic and not go off piste and freestyle is something of a query, but anyway.
So do you want to jump right into it?
Yes, I am going to jump right into it. So the topic in question today is photography in wedding dress appointments. Basically, it's a controversial area, and I'm just going to give you some back history on it first before we talk about what it means today. So years ago, and I'm talking probably 10 plus years ago.
2016 it was that we did this blog post. 10 reasons to put your camera phone away at your bridal appointment, and I'm going to link it in the show notes so you could read it.
So this is like, really before like Reels, before TikTok, before Instagram was as huge as it is. We used to write blog posts and people used to read things. So we didn't have to do podcasts. Although I quite like the podcast actually. It's it's not as challenging as having to sit down and write an article that makes sense and flows and has good English and spelling and all that sort of stuff. So I wrote a blog post, 10 reasons to put your camera phone away at your appointment, and it blew up. It was like a really huge success. We got like 20,000 reads on the first day of publishing it. And I mean, those are not numbers that are easy to get on a blog. But we did, and it became almost like a set text for bridal shops, and sort of within their training program, as to try and explain to people why it was a good idea not to keep taking photographs at your appointment. It covered sort of things like, oh, you're not a model, this isn't the finished article, this isn't, are you, I'm judging you as one shop to another when I look at the photos, and I'm like, oh, I don't know that they've taken the best photos in the best places. So it was one of those things that we were tending to find that was becoming a runaway train then, and that actually unplugged was a relatively new phrase then. And I think people are more used to saying things like, have your wedding unplugged. So like people put their camera phones away at weddings, and you're not allowed to have your camera phones out anywhere like a Soho House location, because people want to have their privacy respected. So like 10 years on nearly, obviously that it's not got any easier. So I just thought what I would do, I think it really needs to be done, because I'm still having the same conversations week in, week out in the shop with my clients about photography in the chapel. So basically the reason why it's never going to go away is, the phones have got better, obviously. They're more fundamental. I mean, like people that are like in their 20s now can't really remember a time when their phones weren't a major part of their lives. So whereas maybe 10 years ago, you've got people who used a phone as a phone. So now I've got a whole generation of people that have had like smartphones pretty much since they were like in secondary school, maybe even younger. So it's something I still have to control, but I wanted to explain my thinking behind it and what I think it does well and what it doesn't do well. And then on top of the fact that we've got a generation of people that have always had a phone slash, massive computer in their hand, we also had COVID. So before we were like, I really would rather you didn't take photos, always bring people back to see it. But COVID put a real kind of restrictions on guest numbers in bridal appointments for a while. And legit, I couldn't say to people, you can't take photos to show people that are unable to attend due to us following the health and safety guidelines. So what we've tended to do now is to control that. What I'm often told by clients when they want photos is that they need to be able to remember what they've tried on. It's important to see how the dress photographs, and I need my sister slash best friend slash mum to see the dress. So I'm going to tackle each one of those points individually. I need to be able to remember it. So this is firstly, this would suggest, if someone needs to remember something, that they're probably trying too many dresses, that they're going to too many shops, and you're turning into a sort of blurry whiteout. So basically, blurry whiteout is not a really great place to be with this. So again, I would just suggest, to start with, I would really research your shops. As we've covered in previous podcasts, we can still, despite our quizzes and information and touch points pre an appointment, we can still find people in our shop not knowing what we've got and not having the right kind of dresses. So basically, the other thing as well is all of our designers these days give us really good content to go with the dresses. We have got front and back shots, close-up shots of the dresses. There is, generally speaking, video footage as well. Post an appointment, we will follow-up. We have some written notes that we give to you at an appointment, and the follow-up will include the names of the dresses, the marketing images that we've been given of the dresses, so that you can be very clear and remember which dresses that you have tried on. So I'm not saying that I need to remember it is not a valid reason. But what I would say, I want to break down that kind of thing and just say you don't want to remember it. If you remember it, we will give you the names. You can go online and see all those things. You can remember the dress. That isn't a problem. What you want to do is remember how you felt, remember how you looked, remember if you liked it, remember if it was flattering, remember so many more things than just remembering what you had on your back. So the remembering is tricky, because then this puts us back to where in my previous article that I wrote all those years ago, that actually what you're looking at in the shop, and this is my kind of like contention with it, is not the product. What you're recording in the shop is you trying on a sample dress that hasn't been made for you. It doesn't fit you properly. It's a guideline to how our product or service will pan out. And also, really, even when you choose a dress from us, it is an act of faith that we will do what we say we will do and make it fit correctly. And I again would steer you to our Real Bride sections on our website to see that we do what we say we'll do, and we do have them fitting correctly over a very diverse range of body types. So I'm not suggesting that you don't need to remember it, but what you're trying to do is to try and sort of keep that absolute 100% impression of that dress. But it's a kind of like flawed concept, because that what you might then get is a picture of you in a sample that doesn't quite fit right, and it should be the dress that you have, and you may have a crisis of confidence about choosing it. You may have a crisis of like confidence about like ability to have made to measure, have things fitted. Very often I'm like popping on two dresses together with someone, so you've got one dress on and I chuck the skirt over another dress over, so you could see what a combo dress would look like. That isn't, you're only going to get sort of like a working document rather than a finished effect. So I would say that I need to be able to remember needs to be looked at in many, many different contexts. It's like, what is it that you are trying to remember? And I think also the other thing is brides are expecting a battle with us to be able to get photos, because sadly, though my previous article was used as a bit of a training document, through the years and through the effect of Chinese whispers, I think some shops don't know why they say no photos. There's some absolute bullshit reasons, like copyright. Absolute nonsense. All these photos of all these dresses are on the internet. If like the designers thought they were protecting their copyright, they wouldn't put any pictures on the internet. Copyright is absolute nonsense. It's the real reason is that basically we find, I don't even know if you can use the film Muriel's Wedding anymore, but the showrooming concept that we all get, which is basically we know that people just want to go to as many shops as they possibly can, take as many photos of themselves as they can. It's like that Catherine Ormerod article. It just is using our shops as a entertainment space and a showroom, which I get. Shopping is part of your lifestyle and culture and entertaining like life, but it is quite difficult for us to do that for a fee that is really wouldn't make us money. If you don't buy a dress from us, that fee is not covering you having been into our shop, but very far from it. So it's so I can see why shops will say no photos, because they're basically trying to sort of maybe stop that kind of showrooming kind of thing. If you say no photos, you may be less likely to get people who, I hate to say it, are time wasters. That sounds awful to say that any potential client could be a time waster, but it's a bit like test driving cars that you can't afford, or going to see show homes on or visit houses you can't afford to buy. I've actually got like a really weird story about that. Actually, I might just have to divert off for a second. A friend of mine,
of course,
I say a friend of mine, someone I know is a bit of a stan, and actually arranged to go and view a celebrity's property just because they hoped they might bump into the celebrity in question.
Oh my goodness.
I know, that is really stan, isn't it? Anyway, so
it's very stan.
bring back to the fact, bring back to that. And also the other thing as well, I think if people also do like see a bride in a shop and they take a load of photos and they never come back and they don't respond or they don't clear everything up, you can only come up with two conclusions, which is either people were showrooming you, or there is the outside chance that the photo was so bad that it put a person off that dress. So I mean that's why some of the reasons that people will have. So remembering, I would say for you, if you want photos, is to try and really break down what it is that you're after, because I am going to talk about my irritations with this in a minute, but break down what you're after, because I don't think there's any point eating into your appointment time by taking photos of yourself in a dress that you don't like and don't want. It's just an absolute waste of time and effort, and you don't need to necessarily document the things that you don't like, and it does really, really take up a lot of time. The second point on with that, which is it's important to see how it photographs. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. Who have you picked as your photographer? Oh, I haven't got one yet. It's like, so photography is not important to you then? Oh, it's important to see how it photographs. It's like, yeah, it is. But it's also like, are you going to pick a superstar, fashion-led, editorial style photographer? Because basically they can make most things look good. Doesn't really matter what you choose. They can make you look great. And also, similarly, I've put really wonderful dresses on people who've looked fantastic, and they haven't made a wise photography choice, and everything looks diabolical. So you've got to kind of think about what photography means to you. Is it's important to see how it photographs? Is this you having an excuse for me to take photos, or is photography really important to you? Because if photography is really important to you, then prioritize a decent chunk of budget for your wedding photographer.
And again, like taking that picture yourself is not going to be a good judge of that, because you're not a photographer, unless you are. But it's like you can't judge that by your own iPhone photo either, because it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, and also you're not a model. You know, we paid our last model for the shoot that we did at Cowdrey £1,200. And she's not even that expensive. That is the kind of money you have to pay for someone that can look down a lens without like fear or embarrassment, that can do everything. They can jump on beds, they can stride, they can dance, they can look good in clothes, they can sell a product. That's how much you get paid a day as a reasonable working model. And like all of my clients are wonderful, beautiful women, but they're not models. So I feel like you have to understand that what you're going to get from the picture is maybe disappointing, because what we're trying to do is create instant content for you.
You've got 30 seconds to look good enough in that dress that you're going to look at it later and love it. Like in just one photo, you can't just instantly do that.
No,
like a model can. A model can just instantly be in the right pose, but like it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's I also, and I've said in previous podcasts, that I can see people go from, like, say, the pictures of the first dress they try on to the last one. They've really come out of their shell, and they're actually learning how to work the dress and make it move and twirl and behave, and really creating content that they could really kind of use as, not that I would use it, but stuff that could be used as content. And actually that takes me most of an appointment to coach that ability of people to get that. So it's really like, see how it photographs. Yes, it is important to see how it photographs, but really what you're trying to say really is, I want to see the future, and I want to see how exactly I'm going to look on my wedding day in this dress. And I'm really sorry, but that can't happen.
No. And again, if they want to see how it photographs, they can look at the official photos of the dress, because every single dress has already got existing photographs anyway.
Yeah, so what I would say is, yeah, I totally agree with that, but I tend to find that as a bit of a kind of like, please let me have photos, because our lives are so codependent now on our iPhones / smartphones. It's not necessarily that we need them. And the other point, I need my sister slash best friend slash mum to see. Now, in the very traditional sales training for bridal retail, which I haven't had, as anybody that's had an appointment with me would probably know, it's very far from scripted. But I'm like, yeah, come back, buy it, whatever, yay. So I'm not very sort of like, what would I don't have a killer sales technique. I'm not like, show me the money. I'm literally like, yeah, go, come back, get it, don't get it, I'm fine. But one of the kind of things that they would suggest in like proper like bridal sales training is that they would try and get you, the bride, to bring whoever needs to be involved in the decision. So back in the day when I did do proper sales, it was called an ATB, authority to buy. So basically, if you were like doing business to business sales, what you needed to get to is the person that's actually got the authority to buy. So you don't want to be talking to someone that actually has got no budget approval. You need to get to this person who can sign off on an order. And I guess that would be, if we were being really strict with our brides, we'd be like, if you need your mum, best friend or sister to be able to like make a decision, then they need to be in that appointment with you, because otherwise, again, it's kind of a bit showrooming. It's not really something that's going to end necessarily in an order. But so when we hear, I need my sister, best friend, or mum to see it, we're like that. We're going to either one, take that at face value and say, right, so therefore we have to create content for you that's so perfect that when those people are not present, there is no chance for me to answer any queries or questions about the dress. Like one of the classic mum things, like, well, will it fit like that? Well, I can see that wrinkle. Is it going to crease? All of those things that are literal mum worries. All the way through an appointment, I'm like, yeah, do you remember I told you that doesn't fit? Yeah, that bust line is not going to, boob's not going to squish here. That's not going to squish. No, it's not going to wrinkle across the bum. It's too tight. All of those things, I'm in a constant reassurance mode in person. So I can't reassure someone from a distance when I don't know how that photo is going to be presented to them. And if they really genuinely are the person that's got to be there to kind of help make a decision, I would say, yeah, we need to work on creating the best possible photos, because effectively the bride and myself will be creating marketing imagery. It's the most micro marketing imagery that you'd ever create, but we've basically got to sell it to someone, a third party, without me being present. And that is pretty tough going. I'm not a content creator, although I don't think I'm bad at it. I am not a content creator. So that is, that if that's the genuine reason, I would say, let's see if we can get them in person though, because I'd much rather see those people in person. If, as I had at the weekend, the best friend is in Australia, then there is no choice, but I have got to create content for that. And we've just got to kind of think, is a tepid response to that photo, say the dress doesn't fit, but it's the one you love, will a tepid response to that put you off it? Because I worry about sometimes is that people don't buy the dress they should because of that tepid response to a photo of it not fitting absolutely perfectly. And also the other thing in our chapel is the light is quite challenging. So I would prefer to photograph people in daylight. So when I can, I will throw open the chapel doors at the front and photograph people in natural light. It's by far the best way of doing it. On Saturday, we got to a point where we lost the light, and even at the front when you're not under downlighters, it's still really, really hard for me to get something that will look like a wedding photo, because even wedding photographers prefer to shoot in daylight. You will notice most wedding content creators are shooting in daylight, and if you are having even a winter wedding as well, what you need to do is ask to see your photographer's portfolio of stuff that they've used with flash, because it's actually really hard, unless you're a studio photographer with studio lighting, to get good photos in artificial light. And if you're having a summer wedding and I'm taking a photo in the middle of December in the dark, then your picture that we're creating really isn't going to be at all reflective or representative of actually what your wedding's going to look like. So that is, that's the thing where you say, those are the big things. I need to be able to remember it's important to see how it photographs, and I need my sister, best friend and mum to see it. If those things are important, but you just like park it, bitch, I want photos, then just tell me that. I don't care. I don't need to. But what I'm saying is those three things are important, but they're not going to be infallible. They are literally. I can't show you what you're going to look like on your wedding day. I can't sell slash market to a friend or family member that isn't here, and I can't guarantee your photographs are going to look good unless you book a good photographer. So those are the kind of things, but that people will tell me, and basically, I have to say, still photography, I do it now. Basically, what I've decided is my best way forward is to actually just control this. I will do photos for people and I will take them on my phone, which I know how to use the camera on. I will get the best possible images I can possibly get for people, because it enables me to secretly delete things where the bride is just basically gurned at the camera or blinked, or has got a bad angle or a bad pose. I can coach some relaxedness looking in the photos, and also I will set the photos up so one of our arched windows is at the back, so when people show their friends or family, which inevitably they will, you can see we're in Miss Bush. And so even if a person doesn't choose to buy a dress from us, then at least I'm putting the most microscopic of influence out into the world. So I'm trying to control the narrative and the brand values of Miss Bush by controlling the images that leave the shop. And we've spent 37 years building a brand whose values are synonymous with like quality and fit, inclusivity, all those kind of things. And people can trash those brand values with a bad photo, and I'm not having it.
Yeah, there's a big difference between an image that you've taken in front of the window, that you've made sure the dress looks how it's supposed to look, than if someone just takes it in like a dark little corner and the dress is all crumpled and it's from like a really bad angle. Like there's a big difference, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's it's very, very important for me to, I will like try and control the imagery. I mean, I have also tried to really coach Ben and Rosie and Corin into making good images too. They're not as good as me, and that sounds really ridiculous. If they ever hear this, they'll be like, right, I'm leaving. But it's a fact. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm very much more involved in the marketing. I will do the shoots. I'll be on the shoots looking at everything. I know exactly what I want to see. I spend more time than they do online looking at other people's photos of everything. You and I are constantly discussing the power of the images. It's like our narrative the whole time. I think I can create better images. Ben's quite tall, like he's over 6 foot. So his angles are like quite often looking down on a bride. They're not quite the right angle. And Corinne is just, I mean, she's beautiful, lovely, fantastic person, like really brilliant with brides, got a really good eye, super patient and lovely, but she's not as creative. It's not what she does. So it is quite tricky. So there's also that kind of thing where I'm like, it's again, you'll get better photos with one of us more than the other. So that is kind of like, I think, but anyway, the thing that irritates me most though, and as I say, you can see there's a lot of irritations in this post, and it's not, I know I'm going to have to accept it. I know that I'm 58, and when I first started doing this, like people would bring in film cameras. They'd have to take the film to develop to boots. Do you know what I mean? So this is like, but the thing that annoys me the absolute most about it is the what I would call the evil gig behaviour, where you go to see a band that you really wanted to see for ages. I did this with Susie and the Banshees last summer, and a giant man mountain stood in front of me, not dancing, not moving, seemingly not having a great time, and just filming the bloody concert. And I'm like, are you ever going to watch that? I hate it so much.
Happens to me all the time, and like I'm 5'4.5", so I'm always stuck behind somebody taller than me.
Well, I mean, there was a phrase that I got off Johnny Vaughan. I said, no, this is not mine. So whether it's his or not, I don't know. It's called virtual purgatory. So basically, purgatory being the place between real life and hell or heaven, depending on where you're going. So basically so like you're stuck in the middle somewhere. So effectively what you've got is, if you're constantly faced with someone filming or photographing next to you, that person is not in the moment listening to you or really taking on board what you're saying, and yet they're also not creating good content, good film, or good images. So you basically, it's a sort of like a slightly pointless place to be, where you're not living in the moment. And
No.
I literally am like, the gig thing is the thing that irritates me the most. But second is that also, even when I've explained all of these points to people, you've still got some like gung-ho friend or family member that either still immediately gets their phone out the minute anything happens. And apart from anything else, I'm in those photos and I don't want to be photographed doing my job. Like, I don't want to be in the photos. I just, I want this to be a intelligent, in the moment thing where you are basically paying attention. And I actually stopped a bride. Well, no, I didn't stop a bride the other day. I actually slightly took the mick out of a bride the other day, where she was in a dress and looking at the photo of it on her phone. I was like, wow.
You're literally wearing it right now.
You're wearing it now. Go look in the bloody mirror, for God's sake. Do you know the mirror is real life? Well, let's not go into the physics of real life light, how it bends on like glass and all that kind of stuff. But do you know what I mean? That is like more real life. And we don't have trick mirrors or like weird things, or you're not on a pedestal. That is it. So I was like, that.
Although, like, to be fair, you do look different in the mirror than you do on a photo as well. Like, you look like a completely different person. I saw this. There was a TikTok I saw, and there's a man that has like a special mirror that shows you how you actually look. It's like a flipped round mirror, and like people were like just amazed by how different they looked.
Well, yeah, and also like, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like, we can all get like really good photographers to make us look excellent, and then we can put it through a filter, and all digital like wedding photography is edited. So I do think it's different, but really, but do we make the decision in real life, or do we make the decision on the phone when you've got both things in front of you there? It's like, it's not like we can record like particularly at the moment, for example, the Divine Atelier dresses, like people put those on and you can almost hear them go, because it's like that beautiful like silk like touch of the inside of the dresses and the outside of the dresses. It's like having like almost like a really gentle stroke of like something, and it's just fabulous. And I'm watching people having a physical sensory like reaction to it, which I think is really, really nice to see.
You can't record that and look back on that, can you?
No, absolutely not. So so basically like that virtual purgatory thing is really, really kind of and also I had someone, this doesn't happen as much now, like people tend not to do this, but I had someone the other day actually back in the summer, and she had some particular health challenges, and she'd recently had a baby, and she had some health challenges with weight, polycystic ovaries, and underactive, overactive thyroid. Anyway, so basically she was quite a lot bigger than she wanted to be, to the point where she was in consultation with like health professionals about it to like find a solution forward to this. And I didn't have dresses that fitted her that well, so I was basically like, let's not take photos of this. If we can get some good imagery, I'll get it for you. And then her friend that was with her had her phone like this the whole time. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm not filming. It's like, you absolutely are filming.
It's not helpful.
And particularly side on. So one of the things again about arms, people don't like to be photographed their side on with their arms squashed against their body. Like that we've unpacked before. But so with someone doing this, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not filming. It's like, what are you reading then? What are you doing? And it's like short, but the flair of kind of like anger. I don't get angry in appointments, but you just think, oh, you're so insensitive, because what you're going to be creating is actually pretty horrible photos or pretty horrible video content. When it's like secretly filmed, the dress doesn't even just not fit well, it doesn't fit at all. And this person has been very clear about their challenges and their kind of their relationship with their body. So what you really don't want to do is, after I've expressly said no, is to have someone taking horrible, horrible film footage of you. And Kel
Mm.
Surprise, I haven't seen that girl again.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, so she's got home. Her friend, who's been sat down so filming from below as well,
yeah,
has showed her all these awful pictures, and she's probably just been like, "No, I didn't like that."
yeah. And it won't do anything more for her to able to like address any body confidence issues that she's got, because effectively her, that kind of conversation about made to measure, about delaying measures, about how our process works, anything I said is going to be completely undone by stealth
Mm.
filming. And I just think it's unfair on me, it's unfair on the bride, and it's bloody rude from that girl. It's
Mm.
just rude. Like, if I I'm not obliged to have anyone in my shop, do you know what I mean? I can be like, like you see quite stroppy signs somewhere, like, supermarkets, like rudeness to our staff won't be
Mm.
tolerated and all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things where I'm just like, it's like people's desire to have film and video footage now, it trumps any courtesy.
Mm.
And you've seen sort of policemen have been rightly, absolutely sacked, convicted of sharing photos of victims of crime, things like that. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
people can't stop themselves. It's an absolute obsession to, even when it's not tasteful, when it's downright illegal, they'll still do
Mm-hmm.
it. So I just, yeah, it's kind of like, but I've also got to get over myself that I am like 58, and that's not my, it's a generational thing that, everything looked just as great in other times. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah,
Mm.
I just find that quite rude, and particularly after we've particularly said no, and
Yeah,
without
you need a
blurred.
box at the door. You need like a little post box at the door. People pop their phones in and they get it back at the end.
Yeah, I know
Or lockers.
it's really, really.
It's like when you
But
go to like Berghain in Berlin, like the nightclub, they take your phones. I think they put them in a locker at the beginning. You're not allowed
yeah,
to take photos.
I think that that's fair enough, because, like, particularly in a nightclub. I mean, if I was in a
Mm.
nightclub, I'm usually like, on the dance floor, like an absolute weirdo. I don't think I need to see like footage of that. That is horrific. I'm probably a
No,
horrendous dancer. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see it, but but I'm not feeling self-conscious because it's not being filmed. So I think that's
no.
like, that lack of, self-consciousness, I think is really lovely. I would also say, like, obviously we our appointments are chargeable, and so I do feel like the need to give a really good service to somebody as well. So I'm increasingly seeing that me giving people some photos is part of the
Mm.
fee. That gives me the chance to be, like, go, here's some photos, I'll take them. I'm going to get the best backdrop, the best lighting I can possibly can. I'll try and coach the best images out of you I possibly can. But doing that, you've paid for an appointment, and doing that eats up the time. It really does. You
Mm.
probably get half as many dresses on, because we're all kind of like, that we're like taking time to
Yeah, you're doing a little mini
move,
photo shoot in the middle
yeah,
of it.
move locations, do content, all that kind of stuff. It really just kind of like does completely take a long time to get that achieved. And so again, what I would say
Mm.
to people quite often is like, I would get through more dresses and potentially then just
Mm.
photograph your favorites if you
Mm.
absolutely feel that you can't live without it. I'm also slightly triggered by photos of people that, there's a bit of a trend, isn't there, to like, the dresses I didn't choose. It's like,
Mm. Yeah,
great. I'm so pleased that you are just using my backdrop, my dresses and everything as
to
a kind
make content
to make
with.
content for
Mm.
yourself. Yeah. So that is kind of annoying, really. So yeah, I feel like that can be uh can be quite sort of like, yeah, it's also a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? It's like, get the dresses on. Let's get a really good understanding of what it is that we like, and then photograph those dresses well. The
Mm.
other thing which is quite interesting, and I'm not quite sure where we are on this. We did have a complaint about this. It was quite a strange complaint, actually. I occasionally have put on the our Instagram stories pictures I've taken in the shop, like of good hairdos I've done. So I'm like not bad at doing it a lot, doing things like that. So sometimes I've taken that, and sometimes I've put pictures of people with a giant emoji over their face, so you can't tell who they are, but you can see a dress, and like
But not somebody in the dress that they will have chosen,
yeah,
not their actual dress.
absolutely no, but just as a kind of bit of content where you couldn't possibly tell who the person was in any way whatsoever, and like
Hmm.
I would say 99.99% of people have never mentioned it, and one person did, and they said that they could tell it was all their family could tell it was them, and it was the
And it
end.
was from a while ago as well, wasn't it? So she came in months and months before and didn't ever buy anything, this
Yeah.
bride.
Yeah, so you were like going, well, actually, I'm going to make the pictures completely anonymous. And I think it was a little thread actually about how to pose well in photos or so.
It was a thread about, you'd said, oh, if you came in and but didn't end up buying a dress from you, we'd love to hear from you. You were asking for people to
Oh, okay.
feedback why they didn't buy a dress,
Remember what it was. Yeah.
and said, yeah, this is somebody that hadn't bought a dress from a
Mm.
good while before,
Yeah, and it was
but obviously still
perfectly,
following and still looking.
yeah, and a perfectly lovely picture as well, where you couldn't possibly
Mm.
identify them. But anyway, my point being with this is like, I actually thought what we're, I've had to really consider is that if I take a photograph of you, and it's really useful to me to keep hold of them because they are then a record of what you tried. I sometimes, if I see 5 people on a day, I have to actually put the photos and what someone liked, the names of the dresses, and I think, oh yeah, I now remember. So it is quite a useful aid memoir for me actually. But the thing is I think I have the copyright on those photos.
Mm.
So they're my work. So it's one of those things that if I, in theory, chose to share it, even with your face blocked. I mean, I wouldn't professionally, of course, I'm not going to like be, hey, this person came in and they look like this. It's not going to happen. I don't even, like, even my friends there, can I see who's tried on dresses today? I'm like, no, you can't. It's not,
Mm.
my phone pictures are not like available to everybody. And if we take photos of people when they're being measured, and like we are sending, say, pictures across to Jesus Pero or Suzanne Neville about what someone looked like in a dress, we tend to make them headless, so they're completely
Mm.
anonymous as we go. We send them by email, but it has occurred to me that those photos are mine, and the copyright
Yeah.
is mine. And this also came to my attention when I was looking on like a once worn site kind of thing, and people had used photographs I'd taken of them to put on still white, so photographs from
Oh.
inside the shop. I'm like, is that ethical? Do you think you should have asked my permission? Because you're basically using Miss
Mm.
Bush and that backdrop as part of your marketing for your once worn dress. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure where the law would stand on that. And
You
also,
obviously don't mind.
no,
It's
but
it's fine, but it would be
it's,
nice to have people check.
yeah, it would be. And so obviously that
Yeah,
what
because
is,
then people might, if they might assume that it's Miss Bush selling it.
yeah, no, absolutely. And also the other thing is like, if people feel that the images I've created are good enough to advertise their dress, then put your own phones away and let me do the photos, because they are pretty good.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I just want to add as well. So we did the Suzanne Neville event recently, and Sophie took the photos. And there was somebody that was worried we were going to share the photos of her in her actual dress that she was buying. And I just wanted to just add on that we never, ever, ever share photos of a bride in her dress that she's chosen before she's worn it. Like we would never share spoilers.
yeah, it's a bit like a doctor's oath. It's like,
Mm.
like where you're not supposed to, I can't remember what the actual, like the whole part of the oath,
Hippocratic
the
oath.
hypocrite, yeah, but it's basically, it's like you won't do harm to anyone. It's not just you won't, so you're also keeping their kind of like, information private. But I think it's like one of the promises a doctor has to make is not to harm someone.
Mm.
I like bump them off, I guess, as opposed to making them get better. And I think that thing, I think the whole thing about the photography really is about not doing harm to our clients. And it's not physical harm. It is, it's psychological. And
Mm.
yeah, and we want to keep kind of protect that. And so by doing that, you don't need to see like an accidentally caught bad image. I would also say to my fellow retailers out there, I see terrible photos from inside your shops, and I think you're either going to have to do is get a policy on this, which is either your policy is no photos and you police it really strongly, or you take the photos yourself. Because what I'm seeing are the worst of all possible photos, which is
Mm.
people guest taking photos from chairs, so the angle is up and under like this, which is just
Mm.
terrible. Bad lighting. I can see, say like hanging up behind the bride doesn't look that great in some cases. I'm like, that's a nice aircon unit. This is not the images that are coming out of your boutiques are not consistent with your brand. And so
Mm.
basically it is a matter for your own health of your own business that any imagery that's produced in or around your business is consistent.
Can I just, while we're on that point, I just want to ask you how you feel about the say yes to the dress photos that lots of people take.
Do you want to get me in trouble with all other bridal retailers in the whole world? I years ago, like I think when say Gemma, Halo and Ren first started doing Instagram, I think hers is much more magazine-y now on her Instagram group. When she did it, she had some
Mm.
quite cute photos, and they were all boomerangs of people, and they were all very consistent, right, by a logo of people like swinging a bag or something.
Mm-hmm.
And her all the brides looked pretty cool, pretty happy. It was a consistent kind of thing, and it was quite quirky and quite
Mm-hmm.
youthful, and I thought that looked really good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but there are the other ones. No, I think it's horrific. I think
Mm.
it looks awful because basically I think showing pictures of people holding up photos saying I said yes to the dress is like that that is not going to help any future brides decide. It's not helping anyone. It's not helping future brides think, right, what is this product or service going to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shop saying, go me, I sold some dresses. Which is like really
Mm-hmm.
minimum level of achievement if your job is to sell dresses. It's actually sell some.
Yeah,
So
you did it.
yeah, well done, fantastic. I also think that quite often, um, when I look at these things, they put all sorts of people in the photos, like including mums who just quite casually got ready and they're wearing some like dog walking outfit, and that's not their fault because they maybe didn't think they were going to be in a photo. I would
No.
say, what does that say about your brand values?
This is why I asked you, like not because I thought it would be controversial, but in a marketing kind of from that
Yeah.
point of view, like what is it doing for your shop? Because while we were talking about, how your shop's looking online, what does it do for you? Is it going to encourage future brides? So what's the point of it, really? Like, it's nice for the bride to have. You maybe share it on hers, but why are you sharing it on yours?
I mean, I've
I don't know what it's for.
no, and I don't know what it's for either. And I've taken photos of people because they've asked me to, like, people outside the chapel arch,
Mm.
for their own personal use, because they've had a lovely time or they want to record their journey, or particularly if you've got friends and family that have come from quite long distances, it's quite nice to have that together. I might ask my friend
Mm.
Caroline if she minds me sharing um, a photo of her outside the chapel, because it's quite a sort of it is and I think I've sounded probably that my most tetchy about the photos in all of the podcast, but it is because it's a whole strand of something I have to manage alongside an appointment,
Mm.
alongside my job. I have to be thinking and working like a content creator all of the
Yeah,
time.
it isn't just one harmless photo. There is so much more to
There's
it than
so
that.
much going on in there at all. So it's but so I know I sound a bit like stabby about it, but at the same time I do know that a really good wedding dress appointment, and I had just such lovely ones on Saturday. It was just such a good day to do my job. It was lovely. And
Lovely job.
yeah, it was a lovely job on Saturday. Yeah, I didn't like it was great. And in fact, actually, somebody has actually asked me for the photos I've taken because I forgot to airdrop them at the end. So I would say yes, it is a nice moment to take a snap of like who was there. and that momentous occasion. But it's not something I would share. I feel like it is just a bit grandstanding. It's like, look at me, I had customers in my shop today. I mean, actually, honestly, like I can see why, with retail being under the cosh the whole time, why that seems like a good idea. But I don't really think it's doing anything for anyone's brand. It's like, it's only, I'm not sure if it is equal to or worse than shop owners in dresses. I can't think.
Oh, well, I think that we could do a whole episode on that, because that always like grinds my gears. Like, what? Please stop wearing your own dresses. It doesn't. If I was a bride and I went to your Instagram and I see a picture of you sat in your own dress, I'd just be like, well, I don't want to go and try that on now, because I know that you're just like prancing around in the shop wearing it.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, and also like some people do in-store content really well.
Yeah, if you are doing it properly, like, there's one that's really good at it. I can't remember who it is.
It's someone from Eleganza Sposa, I think. I don't know if they still.
Yeah.
I don't know. Given that the internet show, or like the algorithms just show me all sorts of things, but they've done it well, and I see their pictures come up on people's like Pinterest boards and things like that. So I'm just actually looking to see if I don't think they do it.
If you're doing a proper scheduled, this is a content session, we're going to do this, it's great. But if it's like, I desperately need to put something on my Instagram today, I'm just going to put the dress on.
Yeah, Eleganza
I can't see that.
They are still doing
on my
it.
screen.
But yeah,
they look amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like that panic of, I've not posted anything, I'm just going to quickly put this dress on and take a picture of myself in it. Like, you need to be putting more thought into it than that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, and also this person that does it at Eleganza Sposa, it's a very consistent backdrop. She looks like she was ready for this. She looks like she's got a spray tan. She's got good shoes on. The hair looks like it's done nicely. She's thought about her earrings. It's a very much, you don't see her face, but it's consistent. And I think it's really helped them to grow their Instagram followers 137,000. And I think that they've, that level of like catnip and kind of like really good content that's created in store has obviously done quite a lot for that. And there's reels and all sorts of stuff. But this person that they have doing, I don't know if she's a model or a member of staff, but she looks like a model, and the content looks so professional that you'd be like, yeah, anybody would use that. So I think, the photography in store thing with that again is, I don't even know. It sort of gives the impression that she's looking in a mirror and taking it, but it may not even be that.
Yeah.
It could be someone just filming her. So But yeah, so I think.
Yeah, anyway, they are very professionally done, and that's the difference between what works.
And she looks like she's an absolutely perfect size 10 model as well, which means there's nothing for you to guess about. So it's not necessarily the most inclusive kind of marketing, but it is very slick. So, So photography. Have we covered everything you could possibly cover on photography?
I think so much. Okay, and we're at 54 minutes.
Oh, excellent. Well,
so
that's good then. We've
very
done
full.
it.
Yes.
Okay, lovely.
Yes.
Well, I look forward to us meeting IRL on Monday next week, even if we're not recording. Well,
at this point, we will probably be together this time next week. When people are listening to this, we'll already be in Southsea.
Yes, and a little plug
very accomplished
for the Briny as well, the restaurant that we're going to, because it's really good. And if anybody's ever down in Southsea, it's the best restaurant to go to. It's just reopened and it's got sea views, and you'd think that something with sea views would probably have quite bad food, but it's got really excellent food. So it's amazing.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I was tempted to have the turkey, but then I thought, I'm going to be by the sea, I'm going to have the fish.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right,
on that note, let's say goodbye.
No, goodbye. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know, wouldn't you? You'd like to know, wouldn't you?